happened in real life. I feel like that would be a way for it to
So
end.
your pick is the Hart Foundation?
I will take the Hart Foundation.
My pick's the Hart Foundation because the Hart Foundation have been my pick since day one.
Yep.
I picked them and Demolition, so obviously they face each other, so
Yep.
still with Hart Foundation. Rob?
Fortunately, my pick was Rock and Sock Connection, but from what I heard, they dropped, last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
They lost to Demolition.
So I'll have to go with, I'll have to say the Hart Foundation as well.
So we're going to go 3 with the Hart Foundation and none for the Legion of Doom. So we'll see what happens next week as we complete the 8-round 200 tag team
Definitely
tournament.
the longest tournament we've ever had. I mean, 8.
And then we got to
rounds.
come up with a new one.
That's the hardest part, ladies and gentlemen, is sitting here racking our brains
I was thinking, I don't know if we can do 64. Maybe we can do 32.
Okay, of what?
The 32 greatest dream matches.
Huh. Okay, it would take a lot of work.
For example, Randy Savage versus Dean Ambrose. The original Lunatic Fringe against the modern day Lunatic Fringe.
Okay, I really like that. It would take a lot more creativity and real.
And it doesn't come down to who's a better wrestler than who. It comes down to what matchup would you want to see more.
And I think that's an awesome idea. I think 32 would be the perfect amount.
Dolph Ziggler versus Mr. Perfect.
Oh my God, that might be one of my.
So I mean,
that might be one of the.
We could sit here and probably randle off 64 of them. So
right now,
it's a possibility. It could be 64. We're gonna say minimum 32.
Minimum 32.
But you put me and Nick in a room, we could come out with 200.
We could.
How about 2 that might even be in the workings? Which, if it is, might not be the greatest match, but Undertaker and Sting.
Yeah, you're absolutely
perfect.
right.
That's another dream matchup. That's definitely going to be
on
there.
Right.
But yeah, I think 32 minimum would be an idea for what we could do. But you never know.
Minimum, because it made the tournament, the bracket stays even. So.
And you don't, and you could. It doesn't mean like when we were doing our winged eagle champion.
Yeah.
Like where there was only a certain amount. We could come up with anybody in the history of wrestling.
And we would love public feedback from this because there's tons of people out there who would love to see certain matches, whether they're alive or deceased.
Hit us up on Damage365 on Facebook. Hit up Kevin personally. Hit up myself personally. Hit up Rob personally. And JT, we will take any ideas on. It could be tag team. It could be singles matches. Any match, women's. Any matchup that you have ever wanted to see.
That's never happened.
Check it out. That's never happened.
Now we're talking WWE, WCW, ECW, NWA, WCCW, any Crockett
organization. Yep.
Okay, we're not talking about like 1978, like Macho Man versus Jerry Lawler for the ICW/USXWA title.
We're talking big time promotions.
We're talking about mainstream, televised, cable, things like that.
Maybe another match.
Not something we had to read on Pro Wrestling Illustrated a month after it happened.
Here's another one. A matchup that I would personally love to see: Daniel Bryan versus a name that I'm not supposed to say on the air. That Canadian guy. I think that would have been a phenomenal matchup.
I think that Canadian guy versus any modern day technical wrestler would be a great match.
I would love to see that, and as we all know, I mean, we'll go into it later when we go over Warriors of Wrestling.
And you will see repeats of guys' names. That's
the beauty of this possible tournament that we might do is you could have the same guy in 7 different matchups, but it's just a matter of that's how well known he was.
And ladies and gentlemen, he said tag teams, individuals, but you forgot one, and female.
I did say female. I did say female.
Yes.
Yep.
Because who wouldn't want to see Lita versus Charlotte?
Yep. Lita versus Charlotte. Lita versus Sasha. Lita versus Paige. Lita versus AJ Lee. The fabulous Moolah versus Trish Stratus. Like some of these, I could just rattle off women's matches alone right now.
Or my personal favorite would be Caitlyn versus Bayley. They can hug it out all day long.
I do love me some
Not a
Bayley.
single punch was thrown that day.
I love Bayley. I love Caitlyn. There are so many matchups that we could come out with. I mean, you could have somebody like Luna Vachon, who had the pure veracity in the ring.
Second
generation wrestler. Her taking on somebody like, Trish Stratus. Her versus Natalya would be amazing. Sensational Sherry taking on somebody like AJ Lee or Paige.
Yep.
Absolutely. Kev mentioned it before. You could sit the two of us in a room for an hour, and we could.
We just came up with like 12
in just the women's category.
Yeah, and we just said 36. We just came up with a quarter of the bracket.
We might end up doing 64.
Yeah, I think that's gonna happen.
No, even he goes way back, but Andre the Giant and Big Show, that'd be
that's another one. That's one of the matchups that everybody's been talking about for years on what they would want to see.
Gilkey would love this. Hornswoggle versus the Haiti Kid.
You're getting ahead of yourself. That's Stratomatic. That's. But
you would still love that. We can't leave out the little guys. We can't leave them out.
Can never forget about the little guys.
Little Tokyo versus Torito.
Torito. Hey, me versus El Torito.
Yeah, well,
I'm not the biggest guy.
How about the Hardy Boys?
Joe Bellini versus Torito.
All
of a sudden it gets really quiet.
We were getting to more Joey B later, but what were you going to say over here, Rob?
Well, those guys with the mask, what are their names?
Which ones?
The High Flyers.
Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio.
Which is the Hardy Boys.
Okay, another high-flying matchup.
Lucha
Dragons versus Hardy Boys, possibly. Here's my two favorite tag teams of all time: the Hardy Boys versus the Rockers. The Rockers were the original high flyers in the WWF, in my mind.
No, that's. And we named one before. We said LOD versus Demolition.
Yep. So, there you go. Yeah.
It's
that's what,
perfect.
20-30 right there?
Probably.
All right, let's move on.
We could be here. We could do a whole hour show on that.
Oh yeah, it would be great. And if we did do something I think we should do something like that. Cause you know how we do the wrestling roundtable. We have people call in, and I think we should have a wrestling roundtable of just fantasy matchups and take everybody's input and put that into the bracket.
I think that's an awesome idea. We should do a wrestling roundtable on that soon. Reasons why they would like to see those matchups, and just go with it and use that for our tournament.
We had to cancel our last one. I forgot why. It was something happened. We had network issues.
Oh, okay.
And we had to cancel it. So maybe we can get Mickey Biggs and Daniel Moody. It was and Felix.
Maybe we can get our very own Kenny Kluska in on the talk as well.
Hey, we can fit him in studio.
Yep. We can.
The studio's coming together.
I was very shocked when I walked in. It looks very good so far. I like the addition of the tables. Once we add a couple more mics in here and that couch in the corner, it's gonna be a perfect studio, ladies and gentlemen. And we will be posting pictures when it is complete.
Hell yeah. We have all our 8x10s on the wall. And,
absolutely.
We'll have our on-air light sign that lights up red. But that'll be going.
And we did get an awesome 8x10 by the amazing Drew McIntyre.
Yep. Awesome
guy. Super, super nice. He was so professional in the ring, in his post-match speech, in my interview that I was able to get with him, which he was just such a nice guy to sit down with, and he was so real, which you don't get a lot.
And
of
huge.
Time. Yeah, and he's. I'm not a short guy. I'm about 5'11" or so. He towered over me.
He was huge. Anybody see the pictures on Facebook?
I'm short though.
I'm 6 foot, and he was
towering over.
He was a good 8-9 inches taller than I was. So, he's a big man, 30 years old, so young.
We didn't realize that. He mentioned that he was 30 and he really liked to get back into the WWE and this and that, but he's loving traveling the world and doing the indie circuit right now. And he mentioned he's 30, and Kevin and I looked at each other, and Rob, we all looked at each other like, he's only 30?
It's a year older than me.
And he just feels like, you know what it is? It's because they get into the business
so
young. They're like 19, 20, 21 years old. They make a name for themselves before they're 25.
Yeah.
And then it's like you feel like kind of like A-Rod.
Yep.
I feel like A-Rod's been in Major League Baseball for 40 years.
But he started he was in the majors when he was 19, and that's why. It's for that very reason. They play well, in baseball sense, they play for so long. In wrestling industry, you see guys who start in the big time at 18, 19 years old. With the WWE, they're not allowed to until they're 21 now. Yeah. But at the same time, if you start in the big leagues when you're 21 years old, and in wrestling, you can have an on-air type personality until you're freaking 55, 60 years old.
Yeah, kind of like Flair and Hogan.
Ric Flair and Hogan. I'm pretty sure Ric Flair is like 900 years old now. But,
gotta be up there.
Ric Flair's up there, Hogan's up there, but it's great. It's a great industry where guys, even though they bruise their body up for decades, they can still have some type of presence if they're that good on the mic.
Yeah, and hence why I really think that guys like Jericho and Stone Cold are doing podcasts because they're still relevant. And Jericho still want to hear from him.
And I love Jericho. He's doing the right thing for himself personally. He loves his music and he's traveling the world with his rock band, but he comes back and he wrestles part-time. He helps put over younger wrestlers, and the guy can still work like he's 25 years old.
And he's still good on the mic.
Jericho will be one of those guys that will never lose his ability.
I'm not a fan of him, to be honest.
Really?
Nah, I'm not a fan of him. I was a fan of him in his younger days. Because I'm kind of one of these guys that are against WWE bringing back, older talent, guys in their 40-pluses. Like the whole thing with the guy they just brought back for NXT.
Thunder Lion.
Yeah. And then I'm like, he's 50 years old. Like, people, forget this. And everybody's like, oh, but he can still work. Yeah, but look at it like this. He's there. He's supposed to be, training these kids and make special appearances at their pay-per-views and things like that. Or not their pay-per-views, but their network shows.
Their network shows.
Eventually he's going to wind up in a WWE.
Yep.
Okay? And now he's going to block somebody from NXT.
Yep.
And that's, picture it like this. Put the scenario as the 37-year-old veteran baseball player at AAA.
Yep.
And he's blocking that 25-year-old at AA from making it to AAA.
Yep.
So now they either got to release the old guys so this guy can move up, or they're gonna have to promote the old guys into the major league so the 25-year-old can get into AAA.
And in turn, that's blocking somebody from getting to the major league.
I don't believe in that. And
I don't disagree with you.
I think it's a marketing ploy. My whole thing is a marketing ploy.
Yep.
He's the last of the WCW brethren that have never made a WWE appearance.
And he was a lesser known in the not die-hard fans' mind, because for me, obviously, I remember that. I know Kev remembers that. I know we were both huge WCW fans. Kev more than me.
One of my favorites, Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
Let's not break our leg over this discussion, though.
Yeah, please.
Oh God! I just pictured his entire fibula and tibia completely snapping in half.
It looked like a chicken wing.
We won't go into that though, because we could discuss that for about an hour or two. But no, I don't disagree with you in that sense.
32-man tournament, worst injuries in wrestling. Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you about it being a publicity stunt, and
my feel is they're gonna put him into the Hall of Fame in 2016.
And yeah, I mean, I'm very curious as to who the headliner is going to be next year.
Rumor is Demolition's going to be there.
Demolition is supposed to be the tag team, because as we all know, as wrestling fans, every year they put in a tag team. One female generally, which I was very upset at not choosing Miss Elizabeth last year.
Would have been a good opportunity, but Alundra Blaze was, to me, it was a no-brainer.
It was a no-brainer. I thought Miss Elizabeth, if you're going to put in Randy at the time that he was put in, I thought Miss Elizabeth should have been put in as well, just because.
Maybe WWE's thought process is that they want to have Miss Elizabeth to have her own moment.
And I sure hope so, because, I mean, it was a tragic death of hers, and she was the original. I don't want to say diva, but she was the original diva.
She was the original diva. She was the first. And people say, "Oh no, there was women's wrestling before she made her."
Of course there was, but she was the first.
But she was the first female they've ever marketed.
Yep.
It was the first one they ever made money from.
Yep. And not just solely off of in-ring talent. She was that valet. She was that absolutely gorgeous woman who all guys would be like, she's Macho Man's girlfriend. But wow, she is gorgeous.
When she made her appearance, Sensational Sherry was the women's champion.
Yep.
Nobody watched women's wrestling.
Nope.
Okay, you couldn't buy a Sensational Sherry poster.
No.
You could not buy a Sensational Sherry teddy bear.
Nope.
You couldn't buy anything, cards with her.
Nope.
No. But when Macho Man Randy Savage brought in Miss Elizabeth, within months, she was on posters, she was on magazine covers, she was in collectible cards. She had her own line of memorabilia in the WWE magazine.
I think she helped pave the path for today's divas, women's wrestlers, whatever you want to call it. She helped pave the way for every woman in the wrestling industry today.
And then you got somebody like Sensational Sherry, where after her wrestling career, she became that valet, and then she became someone they marketed. She was marketed more as a valet than she was as a wrestler.
And she was a phenomenal worker in the ring.
And she's one of those women who says that Miss Elizabeth is the one